there, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, October 16th, and I am back for my Stitchy update. It's been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you have all been well. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast about cross-stitching and sometimes quilting. However, if you are not interested in seeing the quilts, I show those in the second half of my video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they will be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So I hope that you guys have all been well since our last update, and since I also did not show Freddie in my last video, I thought I would show him at the beginning of my video instead of the end, because it is getting to be afternoon and he gets very riled up in the afternoon. He is in his terrible twos and he is into everything, so I thought I would just quickly show Fred. So say hi, Fred. So Freddie is going to be with me in this room as I do my video, and hopefully he will not do what he did last time, which was bite my feet and get into mischief while I was trying to record. He's a little scraggly right now because when he went in a month ago to get his hair cut, he would not let the groomers trim around his face, so his hair is down over his eyes and he looks kind of scraggly. I'm hoping that when he goes in two weeks to get his hair cut, and I'm hoping that he will at least let them trim just the hair around his eyebrows. But if not, Havanese have very long hair, and I can just start combing it back out of his face and train it to go that way. But typically Havanese have very long hair, and his hair will get as long as mine. So I definitely don't want that, but I love having, he's very fuzzy and cuddly, and I don't want to lose that fuzziness. So we haven't quite decided how we're gonna get him groomed, but hopefully he will cooperate, because last time he did not. So after my last video, and I believe in my last video I might have mentioned that I was going to do a home tour. It was either in my last video or the one prior to that. I mentioned I was going to do a video and do a Halloween home tour, and I've decided not to do that. I did not, I mean, as you can see, I did decorate, and there are areas in my house that are decorated, but I didn't decorate it as much as I normally do, because Freddie was getting into everything. And so a lot of the stuff that sits on the floor and, you know, that I decorate couldn't come out this year. So I will just insert pictures of what it looks like in different areas of my home. And also, if you've been following me since the beginning, I used to record my videos out in the dining room. And the wall behind me, I have completely, so there was a wall hanging that was behind me, and then there was always like some sort of a framed piece next to the wall hanging, and I took that all down and I put some different stuff up, and it's kind of a work in progress right now, but none of it's going to be ready in time to show my video, you know, show in my video. So even that part of the room was kind of under construction, and so I'll just insert pictures, and next year I'll do a home tour, because hopefully Freddie will be, you know, he'll be a year old by then, and hopefully he won't be as much into things as he is now. He gets into everything. He's a toddler. He gets into everything, and he keeps us on our toes constantly. So next year I'll do a home tour. So I had to pause my video there because Ethan got out of school, and he usually does his schooling in his bedroom. And I can understand. I mean, it'd be really awkward to be in the middle of class, in the middle of like the dining room with everybody walking around, and it would be very distracting. And of course you feel weird and awkward, because I know how I feel when I'm sitting out here in the living room and I'm doing my Flosstube videos. So I can imagine it's the same awkwardness. And so he does his distance learning in his room, and it's going well. I know he does miss being in school and seeing all of his friends. But they keep in touch. They all have PlayStations, and so right now he's playing with his friends on his PlayStation, and it's a way for them to keep in touch. And so he's doing good. And of course Allison is doing her sophomore year of college all online, and she was talking to her RA, who kind of they're the people who oversee the dorms, or her hall. So they've broken up the dorms, and there's a person assigned to so many, you know, blocks of rooms. And so she had to go yesterday to do some sort of a fire inspection. And the RA told her that he heard that winter term's going to be all online. So she's not sure what she's going to do, if she's going to let the room go, if she's going to keep it. I think she should keep it and take one of her lab classes, because the lecture part of it would be online, and then you would just have your lab that you would, you know, you have to make an appointment, and then you go in and you do the lab work. And I think that would work better for her than if they were all at school and then everyone using the lab at the same time. I think she would do a lot better, and it's a way to get it out of the way, because everyone I've talked to, you know, they always talk about their labs and how it was torture. So we'll see. Hopefully that's not the case, and they'll change their mind, because I'm still hoping Ethan will be going to school in November in person. So I don't know. So let's talk about stash enhancement. So I've been kidding some things that I am planning on working on next year. And some of the stuff I'm planning on working on in November and December. So I've been doing a lot of kitting, and so all of that stuff's already been, you know, put with the kits that, you know, that I've been working on kitting up over the past couple of months. But I did talk about one that I thought it was going to make it here before I did my video, and instead it wasn't going to make it here until after my video was over, and that is Ann Priest. So she has been sort of my elusive chart. She was never out of print, but whenever I would locate her, she would always sell out before I could purchase her, because I would hesitate, you know, like, oh, do I really want to? You know, why do I want to stitch this one? And I would always come back to it, and about the time I would think, I'm going to get it, and I would go to buy it, and it was sold out. And then it would stay sold out for a long time, and then it would come back in, and I would either miss the opportunity to get it or procrastinate and like, do I really want to do it? That's such a big sampler. Do I really? Why do I want to? And then I would be like, yes, I'm going to buy it. I love that house. And then it would sell out. So it finally came back into stock. Hobby House Needleworks had it, and I ordered it, and I love it, and I'm so glad I decided to do it. I love a big giant brick house. Every single thing I stitch on has some sort of a house in it, and I just love them. I could stitch houses all day long. I don't know why that's a thing. I love it. So this I'm going to stitch on the piece of 40 count Seraphim fabric. I think it was in caramel, and I showed it in my last video, and I didn't think to pull it in here because it's with Maria Finney, which I showed in my last video. Maria Finney is fully kitted now. I did get the threads for her last week, and I also got the threads for Ann Priest this week. So I'm only missing one, and so this is the bundle of threads, and I don't have it on a ring or anything like that yet. I need to get some more of the, I guess they're called binder rings, and I need to get some more of them because they're all being used up by all of my projects that I'm going to be stitching for next year. So I love these colors so much. They're all just fabulous. And I'm only missing one, and that is Gentle Arts Caramel Corn. And that one, every place I go, it's out of stock. And I think there is something that recently came out, and I think that was one of the colors that you needed for it. So once it comes back into stock, I'll get it. I haven't looked to see where it's being used, but I can go ahead and start this, and I'll just pick it up whenever I see it come back into stock. I'm planning on stitching Ann Priest on my birthday. My birthday is in November, and then she'll just kind of stay in my rotation as next year. I'm not going to set a time or a date to finish. I'm just going to stitch on her kind of whenever she calls to me, and I'm really excited. I am going to change the name, And the name, I think Ann Priest is right here, and then it says the school. I've decided to change it to my great-grandmother, the great-grandmother that is in my Anniversaries of the Heart. I'm going to put her name here and my great-grandfather's name here. His name was John, and I'm going to put the date of their wedding. And a couple, I think it's been about a month ago, I was on Ancestry. And sometimes what happens on Ancestry is if you find just like a little bit of information and you just plug that information in, sometimes if you wait, a hint comes up. And so some distant relative of mine had uploaded a picture of my great-grandparents, and they were just the cutest couple. He looked all proud, and they were dressed in like their 19, 20, 30s outfits. And I asked my dad, because in the photo, my great-grandmother's kind of looking down, and she's got kind of this shy expression on her face. And he looks just like ready for the world, you know, happy as can be. And I think it was their wedding photo. And so I asked my dad if she was a shy person, and he said no. He said that she was not shy at all. He goes, maybe when she was younger she might have been, but he said when he was a boy she was not shy at all. And my great-grandfather had passed away long before I was born, and she passed away a year after I was born. And somewhere there's a picture of her holding me. But I don't know what happened to it. I'm sure my dad has it, but I haven't seen it in years. But I thought that was neat because I technically got to meet her before she passed away. So Ann Priest, I'm going to stitch for my great-grandparents. I know some people have kind of strong opinions about when you change the name on reproduction samplers, but for me, I kind of like to personalize it because I'm going to be spending so much time stitching on it. I just want it to be I want it to reflect some sort of history of mine, so that way, maybe as it's passed down, hopefully from generation to generation, and it doesn't end up in a yard sale or at Goodwill, hopefully it's a way for my distant greats to sort of have a connection to their past. So I also, moving along, I also did find Casting a Spell by Blackbird Designs. What I didn't realize is that this had went out of print. So I had it in and out of my shopping cart for 2 years. Every time I saw it, somebody would post a finish of it, I'd fall in love with it, and I'd put it back in my shopping cart, determined I was going to get it and I was going to stitch it, and I wouldn't do it, and it was another Ann Priest where it would just go in and out and in and out, and I'd procrastinate. By the time I decided to buy it, it would sell out. And then it sold out, and word on the street was it was out of print, and I thought, are you kidding me? So I was super bummed, but then I belonged to a Facebook group, and I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's a Blackbird Designs Facebook group, and in that group they announced that they were going to re-release it. So when they did, and it came back into stock, I bought it. And my plan is to stitch it next year, and when I go to Hobby Lobby next time, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the box, because you can still get the wooden box that this is sitting in at Hobby Lobby. So that is in my plans for next year, and towards the end of this year, I'll have a video where I talk about what I've kitted up, what I have in my whip pile, what my plans are, and all of that. So that's one of the ones that I will be kitting up between now and the end of the year, because when January 1st rolls around, I'm cutting myself off for a while, because we want to paint our house. And I also want to get curtains for my bedroom. And I'm also in the process of kind of changing things up in my house. And in order to do that, I need to save up. Not that I spend tons and tons and tons of money on my cross stitching, but, I'm going to cut myself off, because I have, during this whole COVID, all of this that's been going on, I have been buying more than I normally do. I'm a little bit more restrained in, what I buy, and I I haven't been. And a lot of people have been that way too. So I'm going to, there's a couple more charts I want to get. And then I don't necessarily know if I'm going to kit those up this year or if I'll wait till, you know, when I get some of these stitched up. Because a lot of the threads that I'm using and the stuff that I've been kitting up, I can use it in some of the stuff that I have that I, you know, it's sort of like I'm only going to use so much and then I just transfer it to the next project kind of thing. So that is my plan. You know, I've got some things that I want to get next year. We also want to go on vacation. And again, it's not like I spend oodles, but you know what I mean. I need to rein myself in. I've got a little out of control and I feel really bad. So one of the things that's also on my list that I've been wanting to, you know, stitch for a long time is Jack's Bash. I found this on eBay and it only cost me $8. And so it was perfect. I've had this one on my wish list for a really long time. I think I already have some linen for it that I dyed. We'll have to see. Because I think this is stitched on a piece of 35 count and the stuff that I dyed is all 32. So we'll see, but I love this one. It's so fun. So fun. And I've been kind of thinking maybe like, they call it Darktober. And there's like right now in the month of October, a lot of people are doing under the hashtag, I think it's Darktober stitching. And then the rest of the year you stitch that stuff on the 13th of the month. And I think I might do something like that. Maybe for next year and have Jack's Bash as my Darktober 13 stitching. I think that's what it's called. And then the last chart that I got was from the Prim Stitcher series, Prim Stitch series, not Stitcher. And this is the one by Lori Holt. And I think this is, and I should have looked, number 4 of 12. And I'm going to call it a club. I'm in the club and I receive it every month. I did get a little bit of Happy Mail. This Happy Mail actually came before my last video and I forgot to show it. Somehow it got shuffled to the back. Usually when you do these videos you make a huge mess and it ended up getting somehow underneath one of the quilts that I was going to show and I just forgot to show it. But to give a little bit of a backstory, I had signed up to attend the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit, which is hosted by Acorns and Threads. And it was the first Stitch Summit that they were doing. Everybody was very excited. Paulette Stewart of Plum Street Samplery was going to be one of the designers, and Beth Twist, Heartstring Samplery, was the other. So I was super excited about meeting Paulette. I've been a huge fan of hers since I came back into cross stitching and I was really looking forward to it. And then COVID happened and everything got canceled. So the ladies at Acorns decided to do a virtual retreat and it was supposed to have been the last weekend in September, which was the same weekend that the retreat was going to be. So instead of it being in person, it was just going to be a virtual like Zoom meeting type retreat. Well, Megan, who is the Frozen Crafter here on Flosstube, and I think that's what her Instagram name is, and I was going to look it up. I feel like that's right. She was one of my table mates, and everybody that was sitting at the table decided that in this year we were all coming back, we were all going to sit together. And so since the retreat got canceled, Megan had been putting together like a little bit of Alaska for us to give to us at the retreat. And so that came in the mail. So she made this card with such a sweet note inside, and I'm so bummed that I don't get to see her. And I hope, Megan, that you will be there next year because when they canceled the retreat, they gave us the option of either getting a full refund or transferring it to the next retreat, and I just had it transfer. So I will be there next year, Megan, if you're going to be there too. So she made this sweet card, and then she sent this little coffee, which I can't wait to try this. So all of this is a little bit of Alaska. She sent some raw Alaskan honey, and it's been so hard not to open. And then she made me this little, I'm gonna use it as a floss tag, this little pumpkin floss tag. I think you can probably, it's got the little hook, you could probably attach it to your project bag, but I'm gonna attach it to some floss for some Halloween or Thanksgiving project. So sweet. And then a little fish needle minder. So it was so much fun, and I'm so sad that I am not going to get to see her this year. I wish she didn't live all the way in Alaska, because I know we would be great friends. So next year, if you're going to be there next year, Megan, me too. We're going to sit together. But then something came this week. I think it was this week, the beginning of this week. So the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit got canceled. The virtual part of it got canceled for the last week in September because we had all of the forest fires that were kind of raging all through the month of September. And they didn't really have a date, you know, when they postponed it back in September, they didn't have a date of when they were going to move it to. They just knew they were going to move it, and they were going to let us all know. Well, then, has it been 2 weeks ago now? They sent out a, maybe it's been a week and a half, they sent out an email saying that the Stitch Summit would take place the 24th of October, and it's going to be from 10 to 3. They're going to do a Zoom meeting, and they sent us our kits, and it's got this sticker on it that says we can't open it until October 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I can't wait to see what's in there. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, because I've never attended a virtual retreat. I know that other stitchers have, and even though you can't be there in person, it's still fun. So I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see what's in the box. So let's talk about what I've been working on. I have been working on Brian's stocking. This is Victoria and Father Christmas by Stony Creek Magazine. This is the fall. I thought I was going to remember. Nope, summer 2015 edition. You can still get this particular edition from the Stony Creek website, and I will put a link to it down below if you are interested in stitching one of these for yourself. Originally, I had said that my goal was to have this finished by the first part of November, and it's not going to happen. Unless I were to stitch on nothing else for like the next 2 weeks, I could probably make it happen. But because that isn't going to happen, it's probably going to be closer to December. As long as I get it done before Christmas, that will work perfectly. And I'm going to move over so that the tree lights don't show through. So this is my progress. And I don't know if you can tell, you can kind of see where the heel of the stocking is going to be. So I've basically finished, okay. So the heel of the stocking is right here. And then it'll go like this, and then it kind of pops up and then drops down. And so there's some more of his jacket that comes out this way, and then the toe. That makes sense. So here is where I'm at, and that's what it looks like. So it's not, there's still a ways to go, but it's not it's still a lot, but I'm gaining on it. So there it is there. And it was funny, when I was working on this last weekend, my husband goes, "That's too pretty to put in a stocking." And I'm like, but it's got the stocking shape. I'm not framing the stocking. So my plan is, once I get it done, my grandma is going to help me finish it into a stocking. And I haven't added his name yet. I will save that until last. So there you go. So once I finish, there are 3 pages. I finished the first page, and I'm on the second page right now. And once I finish that, I will go and do all the back stitching and then start on the toe section. And I hope that maybe this weekend I will be able to finish the second page. If not, I really hope I'm close. because I mean, I still have a ways to go, but yet I'm gaining on it slowly. I mean, I can see the finish line in sight. And next year, I am not holding myself to any sort of finish date. Between Brian's stocking and my anniversaries, it is really, even though both have been really, really fun, there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to stitch and I just wasn't able to. And, you know, because in order to finish both of these projects, I've had to hold off stitching a lot of stuff that I really, really wanted to. So next year, I'm not holding myself to any sort of like an end date or no. I'm just going to have fun next year. I'm going to take a year off, and then the year after that, I'll probably have some sort of a challenge to myself. Next up is Olga's stocking. I'm stitching this with Yvette. We started this the last Wednesday in September, and this is our Wednesday project. And there's been a couple of times I've been really tempted to pick up Olga and stitch her in the morning or stitch her, you know, when I finish. Like when I finished Anniversaries, it was really tempting to just pick this up and work on Anniversaries for the hour I had left before bed. But I'm like, no, because I want to see, by stitching it only on Wednesdays, averaging roughly 2 hours a night, how far I will get and how long it will take me to stitch Olga. So this is my progress so far. So this has been 3 Wednesdays. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count vintage purled barley, and I love it. Yvette shared a piece of it with me, and I love it. I get why Lakeside is so popular, and I'm hoping that they'll start, because people will, cross-stitch shops will get a little bit of Lakeside in and it flies out the window. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to snag some pieces here soon. I'm hoping I'll be a little bit quicker on the draw. So I'm stitching this with all of the called for, which I do have that here. Yes, this is the called for. And Yvette sent me this, the little floss blank. She made it, and it's Olga, but this is all of the threads. They're so wonderful. I love these colors. I just love them. So, so fun. And for some reason in the viewfinder, this is looking super pink, and it's not. That's weird that it's doing that. Because you're probably thinking, why do you have that pink one in Olga? But yeah, all of these are kind of like this one right here in the viewfinder is, it looks like it's also like a pinkish red, and it's totally not. But I love working on her. She's so much fun, and I think I'll have her done. We had kind of said it would be fun to, you know, have it done maybe by next September, but there's a big possibility it could get done before then, I hope, because I would love to have it next year hanging up here in the house during autumn. So, but I love working on it. So much fun working on it with Yvette. And I just realized that I forgot to say that Victorian Father Christmas is stitched on 28 count white Lugano with the called for everything. And if I do forget to, and I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, if I do forget to say, you know, what count or what I'm using, I do put all of that down in the description box down below. I also will mostly say what I'm using on Instagram or Facebook, but just in case I forget, all of the information, of course, is down in the description box. Next up is Feast of Friendship by Blackbird Designs. I've worked on this 2 evenings. I started working on it the Friday that I did my last video, and then I worked on it last night. And here is my progress. Stitching it, I'm stitching it on a piece of 36 count Heartland by Picture This Plus, and I'm using mostly the called for and some that I just kind of matched from my my box of Fancy Floss. I'm stitching this with Yvette and Carol and Christy and Lori Holt, which is so amazing. I love Lori Holt. But Christy of Crosshatch Quilts and Lori Holt, they started Feast of Friendship together, and I decided to crash their style along with many others, and it's been so much fun. They do have a hashtag, and I can't remember which way the wording went, so I will scroll it down below. But technically I should say like hashtag I'm a style crasher, because I'm totally crashing their style, but it's so much fun. And I'm hoping to get it done. I don't know that I'll get it done this year. I could probably shoot for it. I think because I'm going to take a week off of my anniversaries, I'm thinking that I'm going to work on it next week on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'd have 4 days with it next week. I can't, there's no way I'm going to finish it next week. There's just no way. Not with that big giant house right there. I mean, no. But I love it, and it would be so much fun if I could at least maybe finish it before the end of the year, so that way I had it next year to hang up in my house. So what I decided to do is I started from the upper left-hand corner, and I'm working my way over to the fruit bowl. And then I'll make sure I have all of this stuff done before I do the pumpkin in the house. So this is sort of my reward for sticking with this part. And I'm going to try to get the border done as well before I start on these two. Because sometimes what happens if I aim for the thing that makes me happy, then I'll put it down. And so this way, if I start with everything else and work towards the thing that makes me happy, I'll keep going, if that makes sense. So I love it, and it's a lot of fun. And this is the threads. There's so many threads in this, but I love these colors. They're so beautiful. And I think the house colors are Midnight and Freedom, and I think Tin Bucket. Yeah. So I think these three right here are the house colors, I think. Somebody said there were 4. And so I'll have to go back and look and see, but I think that this is what I've pulled for the house. And it's pretty close. Okay. And then the next thing I have been working on is Basket of Jacks. Here is the pattern. I bought a PDF copy from Notforgotten Farm. I haven't got very far. I think on my last video, I had just started stitching it. It was supposed to be my morning stitch for the last 2 weeks, but I ended up working on my Anniversaries of the Heart. And so when I showed in my video, I think I just had like this much done. And then on that Monday, I was able to get the vine and the first pumpkin without its stem finished, but without the face. And then today I finished this and added the face on this guy. So this is being stitched on 36 count. Oh, what is it? Pearled Barley. And the colors that I am using are these. So they were just some that I had in my stash. It's not the called for. I think the called for, oh, Raven. So I did use Raven, but the other 3 colors are just ones that I had. So I'm using Grasshopper for the basket, Colonial Copper for the pumpkins, and this is Green with Envy for the vine. And I'm hoping it's going to last. If it doesn't, I can use some DMC and just kind of use shorter lengths, and maybe it'll look a little bit more variegated than it does, but I think it'll be okay. Or I can maybe match it with something else that I have in my stash, or just introduce another green color at some point if I feel like I'm definitely going to run out. I'm using 1 thread, so I'm stitching it 1/2. And I'm also 1/2 on Feast of Friendship and Olga stocking. So hopefully, well, I have to be honest, I think Basket of Jacks is going to kind of get shuffled to the side because there's something else that I want to start, and I think it would be perfect as my morning stitch. And I probably should have started it instead of this because I really wanted to start it first and not Basket of Jacks, but I thought with Halloween coming up, I should probably work on this first and then, and I'll show you that here in a second after I talk about Anniversaries of the Heart by Blackbird Designs. So this is Pumpkin Farm, and in my last video I had just finished Brian's grandparents' block, and so I think I went ahead and that Monday after my video, so my video came out on Saturday, so that Monday I started Pumpkin Farm, and I worked on it all that week, and I finished it Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday or Wednesday. And so it took me a little bit longer to stitch than I thought it was. I thought it was only going to take me about a week because it really doesn't look like there's a whole ton of stitching, but there is. It took me a little while, and I probably could have saved myself an extra day, but I messed up on the vine and had to go back in and fix it, and we know how it goes. So here is my, nope, wrong way. Here's my finish. So I stitched this with all of the called for, and it's the first block where I've used all of the called for. I just happen to have it all in my stash, or I pulled it from other projects, and now I'll go put it, the threads back where they belong. Luckily I kept track. That's usually where I mess up, but I wrote down which project I borrowed the thread from. The house is burnt orange. So when I was ordering threads for Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain, I needed 2 skeins of burnt orange, and they came in the mail. No, I needed to order 1 skein of burnt orange, and I ended up ordering it from 2 different places. And when it came, this particular skein had a lot of green, and I thought I can't use that for my orange house in Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain because the house is orange, and I'd already started stitching it, and so that's what I did. So I'd ordered the 1 skein, it arrived and it had way too much green in it, and I ended up ordering it from someplace else, and then it came in the color that I needed it to. But when I started this one, I thought I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use that skein, and I'm so glad I did. I love the house. It's probably one of my favorite ones. So I stitched this one for my husband and myself. We were married in November of '98, and I put Allison and Ethan's initial in it. I love it so much. Love, love, love. So here is the Anniversaries all together. And I love it. Love it. Oh, it looks so good. I just love it. I can't wait until it's finished. So I have to tell you a story because something fun happened over the past week. In my last video, I talked a little bit about Brian's paternal grandparents and how Brian didn't know anything about his paternal grandfather because my father-in-law, when Brian's dad died, Ewald, my husband's, okay, so let me start over again because that's confusing. So Brian's dad, he was very close to his father, Ewald. And when they moved from Baraboo, Wisconsin to Seattle, Washington, he died not long after. And they were very, very close to each other. And it just broke Brian's dad's heart, and he destroyed all of his father's pictures. So Brian and his siblings have never seen a picture of their grandfather. Finding Ewald hasn't been easy because it just hasn't, it's like a needle in a haystack. And so in my last video, I had told that story, And I went on to, well, I had, when I was stitching their block, which this is Ewald and Pearl's block right here. And the only thing it's missing is the year that they got married. And I don't know, you know, at the time I didn't know when they had got married. I had thought maybe they were Catholic because Brian's parents were Catholic and his siblings are Catholic, and Brian was raised Catholic. So I thought, well, maybe these guys were Catholic and maybe I would find something in church records, and there was nothing. And then I found out later from my sister-in-law that they weren't Catholic. So then it was like starting all over again. And so when I finished this block, you know, or as I was working on this block, I was searching on Ancestry and Family Search.org, trying to find any little scrap of detail I could about the two of them. And there was nothing. So I talked about it on my last video. And then I went on Ancestry, I guess it was last weekend, or maybe it was the weekend before. And I don't remember if I had found his obituary by the time I had finished their block, but I recently had found his obituary. Someone had put it on Ancestry. So, I mean, we celebrated, totally celebrated, because it's a big deal when you find stuff like that, especially on relatives you can't find any information on. So, then as the last 2 weeks have progressed, I've tried to find when Pearl and Ewald got married. You know, I knew that Pearl was from Iowa, that Ewald grew up in Baraboo, Wisconsin. I knew that there were a lot of relatives that had lived in Baraboo, Wisconsin, but that's all I really knew. You know, I knew his date of birth. Well, then I went back and I was looking at his obituary, and I was like combing through it, trying to see if there was any little bit of information that I could, you know, that I had missed, you know, some clue that I could then begin searching for. So my aunt had told me when I first started on Ancestry, she said, you can contact people if you see that they have pinned the same information. So there were two people who had pinned Ewald's obituary. And I decided to contact one of them because they had been on Ancestry more recent than the other lady had been. So it was this lady named Kate. So I sent her a message, and I said, hey, I saw that you have pinned Ewald's obituary, and I was wondering if you are related to him. And I explained the situation, and I get a message back, and it was super hysterical because it turns out Kate is one of my Flosstube subscribers. And she lives in Wisconsin, and she lives in a town that's very close to Baraboo, so she knows the layout, she knows the area, she knows the newspapers and all of that. And she told me that she found Pearl and Ewald's, the date they got married. She sent me the clipping, and they were married September 11th, 1912. I haven't added the date of their marriage yet, but I plan on doing it this week. But I just want Kate to know that you have no idea how fun it has been to, you know, just by, you know, giving me the link to the newspaper, I was able to go in and I found 29 articles, and it's the gossip column is what it is. But 29 gossip columns where Ewald and Pearl are mentioned, and it was just so much fun. It sounds like Ewald was amazing. It sounds like he was a lot of fun. I do have a tiny little bit of a lead. When I was reading through the gossip column, because that's what it was. It was literally a gossip column. And they would go in and they would say, you know, like, Ewald is at home recovering after falling down and spraining his ankle while ice skating. And then there was another little blurb where it said that Ewald had returned home after working as a security guard at the World's Fair in the Wisconsin building. And I'm like, that is amazing. And then his sister had went to go visit him, and it was just so much fun reading through all of those. And I'm saving the, you know, the newspaper that it's coming from, and I'm putting it on Family Search so that my sister-in-law can read them. But it was just so fun because we didn't know anything about him, and being able to read that and see that, it was just so much fun. And it gave us a peek into, you know, Brian's family's past. And yeah, Kate, you have no idea how awesome it was that you sent me the information and that you were trying to find Ewald for me. It's just, thank you so much. You have no idea how much we appreciate that. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun. And I still go back and I read the articles. I have them on my computer. As far as stitching goes, I am going to, on Wednesday, I'll work on Olga's stocking. I am going to work on Feast of Friendship, so I'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On the weekend, I'll be working on Brian's stocking. And then in the morning, when during my half an hour of stitching, I've decided to start Reverend Squashbottom by Notforgotten Farms. It's not the best picture, but it sure is beautiful when it's done, and I can't wait. I'm going to stitch it with all the called for DMC. And I was dyeing fabric last week sometime. Brian had bought me a stack of 32 count linen. He'd bought it for me like the year before, and I ended up popping it into the tea coffee, dyed it up a little bit, and then I hung it up to dry. I had started to bake the first few pieces and I didn't like how it was turning out, so I ended up throwing them back into the coffee tea bath, and then I hung them up to dry. So this used to be a piece of 32 count Vintage Sahara, and I think it turned out fantastic. There's only one out of the whole bunch I'm not very happy with, and I'm gonna pop that back into some tea and coffee. I'm gonna dye it one more time because I found a piece of linen that somehow got away from me and it needs to be dyed too. So I've got all of the DMC. And that is my plan. I'm ready to go. I can't wait. I have been enjoying seeing everyone's progress because there's been a lot who have been working on it. Some have already finished it, and I love it, and I can't wait. So, as far as all of my stitching and plans, that is all I have to show in this video. But before you go, I have a giveaway. So, right before my last video came out, I hit 7,000 subscribers, which is totally mind-blowing. I just can't even wrap my head around the fact that so many of you guys have, you know, you've stopped by and you've liked what you've seen and you've subscribed so that way you can come back every 2 weeks to see what I'm up to. You have no idea how much it means to me. Thank you is just not a big enough word to express how much I appreciate all of you guys, and you guys are the best. I have the best subscribers, and just thank you so much. I appreciate you coming back. I appreciate you supporting me. I just thank you so much. And because of that, I want to do a giveaway. So, and this is the hubby. So the hubby, I had something else in mind, but the hubby, he actually bought these for me to give away in my video, and that is 2 pairs of gingham scissors. So I'm going to have 2 winners for the gingham scissors. I love these scissors. I have a pair myself. My grandma gave them to me and I love them. I used them for many, many years before I started collecting other scissors because I love scissors. I collect all types of scissors. I love them. So if you are interested in winning one of the 2 pairs of scissors, this is what you have to do. This is actually from the hubby as well. He said, why don't you ask them what their favorite snack food is? And I thought, well, that's a good one. You know, and then I was like, well, what do I like as a snack food? I like so many snacks. I love snacks. But I thought that would be good to ask people what their favorite snack foods are. But I want to go one step further. So in a sentence down below, using your favorite snack food, I want you to write me a sentence. The sentence could be anything. It just has to have your favorite snack food in it. And then in my next video, I will announce the winners. As always, you must be a subscriber in order to enter the giveaway. You need to like the video and answer down in the comments your favorite snack food just in a creative way. I really hope that makes sense. In my mind, it sounded like so professional. So as far as this video goes, that is all of the cross stitching that I have to share. I of course will be back in 2 weeks, and I can't believe it's going to be Halloween when I'm back for my next video. Time is going by so fast. In one way, I'm glad because 2020 has just been the pits, and I'm hoping 2021 will be back to normal. But it's going by really fast. And again, I think that's a good thing. But it's going to be November before we know it. That's just crazy. And then it's going to be Christmas, and that's only like 2 months from now. That's insane to think in 2 months it's going to be Christmas. But I'll be back in 2 weeks. If you are not interested in seeing the quilting, I will show that next. And thank you so much for stopping by today. All right, let's talk about quilts. So in my last video, I showed you the Mystery of the Salem Quilt Guild, which were the witches, the 3 panels of witches, and I had hand colored them with color crayons and then embroidered them. And the question I had was, can you wash it? And to be honest, I've never washed one. I've made like 4 or 5 of the bigger quilts where I've colored them all in, and I've never washed them. They've all been, you know, like wall hangings. So I asked my grandma, and she said logically you should be able to once you heat set it. So what you do after you color them in with a color crayon, you heat set it with an iron, and that sort of like melts the color into or dyes, I guess, the area where you've colored, not melts it, because it doesn't make it, like when you melt a color crayon, it's not like that. It just kind of becomes part of the fabric. Like you've just dyed the fabric. So logically you should be able to. And my grandma said that when she was a kid, she doesn't remember heat setting it, but she does remember washing it. I, of course, I mean, between the time my grandma was little until now, I'm sure they've changed the color crayon ingredients, so I definitely wouldn't recommend, you know, coloring it and then throwing it in the wash machine, because I think it would just all wash out. I think they make it with that stuff now that it doesn't dye your clothes or anything like that if it gets on it. But once you heat set it, it should be good to go. You should be able to wash it. Another question I got was, did I use the called for Cosmo floss? So the Crabapple Hill quilts, she stitches them all in the Cosmo floss. And sometimes they come with a DMC conversion, and I can't remember if the Witch's quilt did, but I just used my own DMC conversion. My grandma does, she'll stitch hers in the Cosmo floss, but at the time that I was stitching them, the Crabapple Hill, is it Meg Hockley, or I think that's her last name. She was just starting to use the Cosmo. She kind of went from DMC to Weeks to Cosmo. And I think the witches were, it was called for that you use the Cosmo, but I don't remember seeing a DMC conversion, because I remember having to convert it myself, because I remember I had to change some of the colors on some of the witches to match what I had pulled for it. So I have many Crabapple Hill. I did a lot of the Crabapple Hill patterns because before I came back into cross stitching, I was doing hand embroidery, and this was one of them. This is just a little wall hanging. I think it's just called Halloween, but what I'll do is I'll put its correct name down in the description box, and I believe you can still get this. And it was a lot of fun. You stitch this, and then from the black fabric, or whatever fabric you choose to use for the outside of it, you cut, she has a pattern, and you cut this shape out of it, and then you applique it to the stitching. And it was a lot of fun. I did stitch this with DMC, and I used my own color conversion for it, but it's a lot of fun. And I love it, and it hangs on my door during Halloween. And originally this hung in my dining room, and if you watched my videos last year, I was still doing my video at the kitchen table, and it was hanging up over my shoulder. But now it hangs in the entryway. So it was a lot of fun. And I do have a quilt to show you. This quilt here, I did not get a chance to show you last year because it went to be with Allison in her dorm. And I had taken a picture with something I was working on, and this was behind it, and everybody wanted to see what the quilt looked like, but by then it was already gone, and I had meant to show it when it came back, and I didn't. So I'll show you now. So here is this. So from what I remember, this was a mystery quilt, and I belong to the Tuesday Quilters, and probably 5-6 years ago, we did a mystery quilt where one of the members released a portion of the pattern, and then you cut or pieced whatever it told you to do for that particular week. It was either a week or a month, I don't remember. And then after I finished the quilt, I found out that the quilt came out of a book. It was one of the Nichols. I can't remember who the author is, but I know there's a series of books where it has something Nichols in the title. And I'll see if I can find it, but it's been so many years, I don't know that I'm going to be able to find out which one this came out of. But I ended up using Halloween scraps that I had from my Hocus Pocus fill, and some of the other ones that I had collected over the year. And then this pumpkin fabric right here, my friend that lives in Hawaii, she sent it to me. And then, so the rest of it is like Civil War reproduction and kind of along that line, except for these pumpkins right here. I think it was a Primitive Gatherings fall line that she had done, because this one, which is also pumpkins, was in the same line, I think. So it was a lot of fun, and it turned out really, really good, and it's just so fun and vintage looking, and I love it. It's one of my other favorite quilts. And I also put that one in the fair. I think this one and that one were in the fair together, and I won blue ribbons on them both. So some purchases that I did, quilting related. Let's see. Tomorrow, my two best quilting friends are coming over to sew. I haven't seen them for a while. And for my birthday last year, one of them, her name is Retha, she gave me this book for my birthday. And this was I think it was a block of the month, but it could have been a kit that the Fat Quarter Shop was offering. Was it last May? I think it was last May. And it's out of the Fig Tree All Hallows Eve line. It's a beautiful line of fabric. And I wished I would have signed up for it when it came out, but I didn't. I procrastinated. And then for my birthday, Aretha gave me the book. And she also bought herself a copy of it. So this past week, she sent me a message because we were going to sew together. And what we sometimes do is when a bundle of fabric comes out, or a fabric line comes out that we both like, we'll split it. So she'll order a half-yard bundle of it, and then we'll split it, and we'll each get a bundle of fat quarters out of it. And so this quilt here is made using fat quarters. And so we got to talking, and the bundle of, she got the bundle of fabric. She's gonna cut it in half and give me a fat quarter bundle. I hope I explained that right. Basically what we do is the All Hallows Eve line came out. We both love it, and it sold out immediately. And then they re-released it. She bought a half-yard bundle of it, and we split the cost of it, and she takes the half-yard bundle, cuts them in half, and makes 2 fat quarter bundles. And 1 fat quarter bundle is mine, and 1 is hers. So she asked me, do you want to make this quilt? And I was like, yes, let's do it. Because we haven't done a quilt together since last year. And, we always have some sort of a quilt going together. And so when she asked me if I'd be up for it, I was like, yes, please. So the only thing I was missing was background fabric. So on Wednesday, I think it was, Brian and I drove up to Speckled Hen, and I picked up some of this for the background, and it's perfect. I think it looks, you know, kind of like a little bubbly, but it's Civil War reproduction fabric because of Speckled Hen. She has the best selection of Civil War reproduction fabric anywhere. And she's so sweet and so nice. And yeah, so we picked that out. And so tomorrow I'm going to cut into this. And it's so hard because it smells so good. Does anyone else smell their fabric? Or is that just me? Anyway, so tomorrow Reith and I are going to start making the Witch's Night Out quilt. And I would be like, yeah, I'll have it done in 2 weeks, but I probably won't. But I'll give it a good shot and I'll keep at it until it's done. But then while I was up there, out of the corner of my eye, I was getting ready to have this cut, and I was just kind of waiting for my place in line. And then I saw this. So this came back, this came out in 2012. It's called the Legacy Sampler Quilt, and it's by 16 different designers. And it was first released at the 2012 International Quilt Market in Kansas City, Missouri. And then later on it came out as a block of the month. And I remember when this came out as a block of the month because I used to get American Patchwork and Quilting magazine, and I remember when this quilt was, you know, like advertised. But I saw it sitting there and I fell in love with it. And so the husband let me buy it. And then he let me, and he helped me pick out the border, the background, and the horizontal border fabric. Everything else is hopefully going to come from my stash. So this is what we got for the outside border fabric. And I got enough that I'll be able to miter the corners. This is the background. This is all Civil War reproduction. And I love it. It's kind of, it's flowers, but the way that the flowers are designed, they kind of look kind of like paisleys, and paisleys, my husband loves paisleys. He likes when the motifs I quilt on my quilts are paisleys, and when he goes and he's buying, because sometimes he'll buy the fabrics for the project bags that I sell in my Etsy shop, and if they're paisleys, he picked those out. He just loves paisleys, and so there are flowers, but the way that the flower pattern is it's kind of that motif of paisleys. So that's the background fabric. And then this is the horizontal border fabric. And this just came out. And I don't know if she cut it to where it's got the designer. It is from Marcus Fabrics, Paula's Companions by Paula Barnes. And so that just came out, she said. And so I got a half a yard. It's a little bit more than what I need, but I think I'll be able to use some of it in some of the blocks. And then I also got some of this to go in with it. I also did get 2 used quilt books. The first one I got is Joe's Little Favorites. I got this from thriftbooks.com. And I have been waiting for this to come back into stock. I'm usually not quick enough to get it. They usually only get 1 a month, and I was able to get it. It was like $6. Some of the pages, it is falling out. I mean, it's not, I mean, the pages, you know, some of the pages are coming out, and I think what I'll do is I'll take it to Staples and have them spiral bound it. But I love this one, and right now I can tell you that when I get a chance to sit down and quilt, I am going to make, of course it would be at the front and I start at the back. Where did it go? Hold please while I try to figure out what I did with it. I didn't, of course it wouldn't like pop right up when I need it to. Oh wait, here it is. It was right in the back, just like I thought. Oh, and see the other, there's 2 parts of it that fall out, but this is the one I want to make. and I just love it. And I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger because where I need it to go, it needs to be a little bit bigger. So yes. And of course, the page, there's 2 pages. Here's a little bit better picture. So yes, pretty much I'm gonna make every single one in this book because I love it. And I love Jo Morton. She's one of my favorite designers. And then the other one that I got is the blue and the gray. Yes, I love this one too. And I also got this one from Thrift Books. And the one that I am going to make, probably over the winter, is, I mean, the smart thing to do would have been to have marked these, but I thought about it a little while ago, and then, yeah, that one. So that's probably going to be like a winter project for me. I think that's everything that I have to show you, and I realize this video has probably went on for a while now, and so I better go because it still has to upload and do all of the things. So I will be back in 2 weeks. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and remember the question for the giveaway is what your favorite snack food is, and just answer it in kind of some sort of a fun way. And again, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel, who stops by every 2 weeks to see what I am up to. I appreciate it so much. You guys are all the best. I appreciate the fact you guys don't mind that I show the quilting in my video. I do appreciate it because that is the other love of my life besides cross-stitching. Well, obviously my family, but you get what I mean. You know, I love cross-stitching and I love quilting, and I'm so grateful that you guys don't mind that I combine my 2 hobbies together. It means a lot to me. So I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.